Urban Transport webinar series on bus modernization. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Park, a director in the Korea Transport Institute, with us to give us a brief presentation on the Seoul experience with bus reform and bus modernization. Dr. Park is the director in the Korea Transport Institute. His main research areas are urban transport system and sustainable transport strategy. Before Dr. Park joined Koti, he worked with the Seoul Metropolitan Government Institute from 2002 to 2006. He was involved with the Seoul Public Transport Reform Project. Very briefly, this is an important issue for all of us working in urban transport on how best to improve public transport, bus public transport, to make it a mode of choice rather than the mode of last resort for the poor. And Seoul is the best example of what reforms, what changes can be brought about in bus transport to make it a viable alternative to cars and to other private forms of transport. The fundamental issue, and we'll hear more from Dr. Park on exactly what reforms, what changes they brought about, but the fundamental issue that we need to consider as we go along is it is the issue of image and perception associated with bus transport, which are seen as a mode for the poor. What needs to be done to change that image and perception of bus transport? And second, what are the tangible and intangible factors which influence the mode choice behavior? Let me stop there and let me pass it on to Dr. Park and hear the reform program that Seoul has brought about in the last 20 years. If you have any questions, please post it on the chat screen. Dr. Park, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, World Bank and World Bank Institute for giving me a great chance to share Seoul's bus service modernization experience with experts in all of the world. As introduced, I'm Jin Young Park, and I would like to share with you about Seoul's experience of public bus service modernization. Next. My presentation consists of two parts. First part is the mode of bus service in Seoul, and second will be discussions for us how we could improve and modernize bus service. Next. Okay, first I would like to share with you about modernization of bus service in Seoul. Briefly, let me start first from Seoul, and then I will explain about vicious circle of bus service for developing countries. And finally, I would like to share with you system reforms in Seoul. Next. As you know, Seoul is the capital of Korea. The area is just about less than 1%, and Seoul metropolitan area is less about 12%. But population and economic portion of Seoul metropolitan area is almost half of total country of Korea. With rapid economic development in Seoul and Korea, as you can see in the figure, Seoul metropolitan area has expanded to near areas including Incheon and Gyeonggi. Next. One of the important factor in Seoul and Korea was motorization trend. This figure shows you how the number of vehicles in Seoul and Korea for last 30 years. Mainly Seoul, the motorization trend in Seoul has 10 times than uh, 30 years ago. But as you can see in this figure, Seoul has lower motorization trend than average of Seoul metropolitan area and Korea. That means still city has a strength reducing car traffic and still get a chance to improve public transport mode share. Yes. So by now, has about 9,000 buses and more than 300 kilometers of urban railways. In Seoul metropolitan area, we got more than 26,000 big buses and we got more than 800 kilometers. Uh, Okay, so maybe I could speak slowly for a presentation to all of. Okay, so in Seoul, bus has about 27% of total boat shares of boat shares, but the other areas, suburban area like Incheon or Gyeonggi, there are more private but cars mode shares more than 40%. So that means still Seoul has a but good experience of promoting public transport for all citizens. Next. Okay, simply about how bus is bus has been operated in Korea. Basically, private companies operate buses in Korea since 1960s. So, private companies suggest bus route and local government approve because public sector does not have capacity to plan and manage of a whole bus network. So it is natural for at the beginning stage of urban transport for private company is of buses. Uh, so during the last 40 years of developing period in Korea with increasing population and increasing revenue, jobs, bus operation has been a really good business in Korea and Seoul. Situation here shows you the typical situation in Seoul for 20 or 30 years ago. So passengers were chasing the buses and also bus service was not an issue, right? So mainly just public bus service is a kind of a mode for moving. And let me explain about vicious circle of revenue and economic development. Try to buy, people have tried to buy more and more private cars. And this triggers limited road capacity and congestion in urban traffic. But however, at that time, still public sectors there was no bus priority policies in Korea and Seoul. So this means that situation has operated bus route. They try to save cost by reducing operation and frequency. So route. So this of buses, because of this poor service, again people has tried or buses try to buy their own private car, not by bus, by bus. So again, this made a decrease of bus unit that triggers abolition of bus service and deterioration of bus operator and bus service. Next. So again, increase of private car use bus operating companies, and so it means unstable service and unpunctuality and unreliability of bus services. Also, bus operators try to reduce their operation cost by reduction of labors, drivers' low salary, and from 1980s to save operation cost. And also there was excessive competition on the road to increase competition their own company's revenue. That is typical situation in developing countries. So reckless driving was quite popular to get more passengers. So there was high. Okay. Next. 100% is their efficiency. Okay, let me share with you my ideas and discussions with you. First, modernization means a kind of policy paradigm shift from old one to new one. So in Korea, I can summarize in the policy paradigm modernization as a 4 different aspects. One, from car-oriented to human-oriented. Second one is construction-oriented to operation-oriented to operation-oriented. And third, supplier-oriented to user-oriented. Fourth, demand-following policies to future-oriented policies. So one of the key messages for service modernization is repositioning of bus service as an important part of urban infrastructure. So bus service should be not for just moving, but for sustainable development, because bus service can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also could minimize social costs such as accident or energy consumption. And also because bus is most popular and cheapest mode for every citizen, we can consider social inclusions by promoting bus services. And also, as you know, bus operating and bus industry is one of the biggest industry for hiring many people as a driver, conductor, and maintenance and operation. So by promoting public transport, we can also transport industry and encouraging a creation of jobs. So, but as I mentioned in Seoul's case, there are many elements of bus services. So we should have comprehensive approach to have a successful bus service modernization. I just summarized major elements of bus services as 8. So planning, governance, finance, network, operation, monitoring and evaluation, fare system, and information. So when you achieve a success for modernizing all these 8 elements, maybe we can have a great bus service to improving and achieving sustainable urban transport system. But however, also we do not have to think about to improve every element of these things by one time. So maybe some cities or some countries have priority for like governance or financing, or some countries or cities has a priority for network operation. So it's up to their own situation and conditions. But what I try to say is the bus modernization should be happen for these 8 elements of bus services. So I wrap up my presentation. So thank you for listening my presentation for bus service modernization in Seoul. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation. Now I will request our viewers, our participants, to post specific questions on the chat side. Uh, let's hear what questions we have for Dr. Park. Before where are you typing here?
So,
We have
for your okay, I got a question from
Dr. Park.
Julio.
Dr. Park,
So that was really important question for. Yep. May I answer each question or answer whole question in later?
Dr. Park, I would suggest that you read each of the questions and the person posing that question and respond to each of them one by one, but state the name of the person who is
Okay.
asking the question.
Okay. Okay. So may I answer the first question? First question was made by Julio Ernesto Paquero. Yeah. So that was really important question for the bus system modernization. As I mentioned, as you pointed in your question, existing buses were really reluctant to do a new system. However, there was a social consensus of improving bus services, and Seoul metropolitan government uh, persuaded them and convinced them this bus system modernization is not for passengers but also good for the bus operators. And actually, with this bus system modernization, uh, bus operators could get social public from Seoul metropolitan government based on their operating. So, but one of the issues is that there are more than 50 bus operators in Seoul area, so it is not easy to discuss which bus operator. So in that time, Seoul metropolitan government had only negotiated and discussed with representative of bus operators federation. So it is easy for public sector
Dr. Park,
with it.
Dr. Park, it would be good if you see
not time at getting off arriving at that time. So by mixing the private mode and public transport schedule, we can not only buy the whole and many bus services, but by minimizing frequency and bus services, we can achieve the bus based on. But also we should think about how we could provide right of way for buses for getting this kind of punctualities. And Marilus chapter 2. Okay. Okay. Marilus chapter's question. Definitely, citizens are the system, and at that time we got the kind of bus management, bus modernization committee by public sector, NGO, passengers, representative, and expert. So they are controlling important issues in Seoul. But as I mentioned previously, one of the current issue is increasing subsidy of bus, increasing subsidy for bus operators. So nowadays we are focusing how we could minimizing and improve efficiency of public sector's subsidy for and Anna Okora. Okay, so as I mentioned, mainly bus is operated by private company in Seoul and all over the Korea. So just there are representatives of bus operators federation in Seoul, and they are operated by with management department of Seoul Metropolitan Government. So there are some issues of making some transit authority in Seoul, but also it is not. It is a kind of burden for Seoul Metropolitan Government to make that kind of big authorities. Metropolitan Government would like to keep this kind of situation with private operators and public sectors monitoring and evaluation. So minimizing public sector's involvement for private sector operation. But for urban railways in Seoul, there are two different transit authorities in Korea. So in Korea, urban railways are operated by public transit authority, but buses are operated by a private operator. So always there are a kind of competition between a public sector and private sector. So I think one of the key issues we have sector. So I think one of the key issues we have to think about for urban modern service is how we could promote competition among open services. Definitely not for competitions on the road. Okay, so Pranab Nanda's question. Okay, so actually for the public reform project, only for public transport reform project, Seoul metropolitan government did not spend much budget for the reform. The biggest project was the smart card project, installing every card readers to every buses and every metro station. But as I mentioned, that was conducted by a private sector investment. So metropolitan government did not have to spend budget for that one. Only Seoul metropolitan government spent budget for improving exclusive bus lane and bus stop, and also for bus management system. But as I mentioned, the cost for bus reform project was quite small. But the project, public subsidy for bus operator has increased a little bit. So that's the key issues in Seoul by now. Okay, and then and Pranab Nanda's question, mode shift from a private mode to public mode. Actually, we have expected originally about 5% shift from private car to bus, public transport. But by now we have analyzed about 3% mode shift from private car to public mode, because always it is not easy to change people's behavior of using their private car to public transport. But there are some studies for what I mean. 3% is the whole area of Seoul, but some areas with the exclusive bus lane, there are more than 10% more shift from private vehicles to bus services, because by using exclusive bus lane, using bus is more fast and more cheaper option than a private car. And Anna Okola, okay. Yes, that's a good question. So by now, operators are not competing along assigned route. So we tried introduce the route tendering